Okay, folks, good morning. I've just started the recording of our session. So good morning and welcome to Community Connection. My name is Carol Spicer and I'm the owner and founder of Spicer Facilitation and Learning. And I'm joining you today from beautiful Pasadena on the west coast of the island. I'd like to take a moment to do a land acknowledgement on the unceded territorial lands of the Beothuk. According to recent maps, Mi'kmaq doesn't actually reach up into Pasadena, but it is in the area. And I encourage you to take a moment to reflect on the lands that you may be joining us from. So as I say, good morning and welcome to our Community Connection. For those that aren't familiar with it or kind of wondering what this is all about, in my business, I've had the opportunity to work with a number of not-for-profit organizations. And this is my way of giving back and providing an opportunity to the not-for-profit community to connect with one another. And so I've been kind of running this quarterly and been doing this now for about a year and a half. And partly it's because as I work with not-for-profits, I find that a number of you all have the same concerns, the same challenges that you're facing, and I really want to try to provide an opportunity for you as someone working in the not-for-profit community or supporting the not-for-profit community, an opportunity to network and connect and learn a little bit along the way and share your challenges, share your successes. And so I offer this as an opportunity through my facilitation and through my software that I have to provide you all with that opportunity. So this morning, I'm very, very pleased to welcome Randy Follett, from the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador with Tourism, Culture, Industry, and Innovation. Randy is a regional economic planning analyst with the department based out of St. John's, I believe. I'm assuming you're in St. John's, Randy?
Yes, I am.
And Randy is responsible for, part of his responsibilities are with the social enterprise aspect of supports available. So I've brought him in today, and thank you, Randy, for being so gracious to come on with us today to talk to not-for-profits. I know many of you are either trying to operate social enterprises to support your organizations, or you're considering it. And so I wanted to bring someone in who knows more about that than I. And so Randy's going to be here to do that. So before I turn it over to Randy officially, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to run down the list just as you've shown up in my list to do a quick intro so he knows who he's speaking to, and maybe just tell us your name, the organization you're with, and your location, if you could do that. So I'm going to run down the list. So it's going to be Toby, then Suzanne, then Shanna. Toby, you're first.
Hi, I'm Toby Biggin. I'm Executive Director here at CBDC Humber in Corner Brook.
Excellent, thank you, welcome. Suzanne?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Suzanne Da, I'm Stakeholder Engagement Coordinator with the Newfoundland and Labrador Workforce Innovation Center at College of the North Atlantic Corner Brook campus.
Excellent, thank you, welcome. Shanna and then Mandy.
Hi, I'm Shanna Mugford and I'm the Connector and L Program Coordinator for Western Newfoundland. So I'm in Corner Brook, but I work with the St. John's Board of Trade and the Greater Corner Brook Board of Trade as well.
Excellent, thank you, welcome. Mandy, then Lucas, then Kathy.
I'm Mandy Penny. I'm Training Support Facilitator with Inclusion NL, and I'm in St. John's.
Excellent, thank you, welcome. Lucas, Kathy, and then Daphne. Unmute Lucas. I know he was there earlier, he may have stepped away. Kathy, you want to go next?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Kathy Hawkins, located right now in St. John's, although from Corner Brook. So my heart's in Pasadena and Corner Brook. And I manage Inclusion NL, and we're a program of Empower the Disability Resource Center and heavily connected to social enterprise. So really excited to hear Randy this morning. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us. And Daphne. Oh, you were unmuted. Now you just muted up.
Oh, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. There you go.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Daphne Zev. I live in St. Phillips. I've been in Newfoundland for 4 years now, and I'm just starting my own consulting business and in the process of getting that all lined up. And my background is in credit and collection and cash flow management. I work for organizations, help them to collect on the accounts receivable and streamline the whole process. So that's where I'm at. And by the way, I'm going to be visiting Pasadena for the first time. I can't wait. I heard so many nice things about the place.
It's absolutely gorgeous. You know, I'm a little biased and say I'm from the West Coast, but I got caught this year. I was in a training session in May as a participant, and it was from people all across the country. So West Coast meant a different thing because they were all in BC and Yukon and Alberta, but it changed the perspective.
I'm really excited about it.
Excellent. Well, we'll certainly be happy to have you out here. Lucas, I'm going to go back to you, see if you're there.
Yep, sorry, I had a phone call.
Perfect. That's okay. No problem.
My name's Lucas Nill. I'm interested in an array of many different things. I'm not actually with any group right now. I'm working on my master's at the university. And I'm just really interested in social enterprise. I think it's a really interesting way to run a business. At some point, I would love to run my own business. And so, yeah, that's why I'm here.
Excellent. Thank you. Welcome. And you're located across the bay, aren't you? Or down the bay?
I'm down in Mount Moriah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. So, Randy, I'm going to turn it over to you if you want to say a few words of welcome and then take it away.
That's great. Thank you very much, Carol. What a great idea this is. And just hearing the introductions here, I'm really pleased. Such a great group of people here this morning. It should be a very interesting discussion. Yeah, so as Carol said, I'm with the Tourism, Culture, Industry and Innovation Department. I'm currently the acting manager of the Regional Development Program, which is, I mentioned that point because it's through that program that we do the majority of the social enterprise activities that we support. And we'll talk a little bit more about that program as I go along. I thought what it might be good to do, it's going back in time a little bit, but as you all know, perhaps even better than I do, is social enterprise is not a new thing. It's been around for a long time. Not only in Newfoundland and Labrador, of course, but all over the place. And I guess people are looking at it in a different manner these days, and getting more. We're seeing more different structures of what a business might look like and those kinds of things. And it's certainly. Pre-COVID, it was a very popular topic, and many organizations are looking towards social innovation to achieve their goals, but also to contribute in a positive manner to the betterment of our society in a nutshell. And I think now, as we move into post-COVID, at least I like to think we've come a long ways, and I think we've really advanced those the social thinking around what our society really needs and how we all want to move forward as a society and how we want to live our lives. So I feel that social enterprise really is about to explode. I mean, I really think it's going to be a very important concept and a very important business model as we move forward and we start to see even major corporations and not-for-profits that are really going to take social leads and things. I certainly hope so. And the signs are promising in that regard. We'll have to see how it all rolls out now in our new world of for now of living with the COVID situation. So I thought I'd start with right back and sort of get into our department and why we're involved and what the province of Newfoundland is doing. As I mentioned to Carol earlier, please feel free to interrupt me. This presentation is something new that I just put together, and I'm kind of trying to cover a lot of bases here. And interrupt if you need to either ask a question about something or perhaps even to correct me on a point, because I think as I see from the list here, your organizations are working on the ground, and you probably have some really good contributions to add to this that the other folks might like to hear as well. So do feel free to interrupt me at any point to take on a point. So as I mentioned, TCII is the lead agency for economic development for the province. We have a corporate office here in St. John's, and we also have 18 regional and field offices, sort of divided between central and western Labrador, and then the East Coast. But those offices all have economic development officers within them, and it's usually those economic development officers that would reach out to anyone outside of the Avalon Peninsula, certainly, and they're very accessible. Usually you can drop into the office and see somebody. These days, of course, you can't do that, but everybody is still very accessible by telephone, and we're getting closer to the day when we are able to actually have a face-to-face with our clients as well. So looking forward to getting back to that structure. Bear with me here as I figure out how to go to my next slide here. One of the things that we do in this department, and I feel we do a very good job of it, is that we bring a lot of partners to the table. We, when we're working on a project, we really like it when a client reaches out to us, and through our economic development officer, we get a good feel for what the client's trying to achieve. We do the reach out then ourselves. So within the provincial government, we'll talk to various departments such as AESL or others that might be involved in a particular scenario, and try to bring them to the table as well. Sometimes it's to bring resources such as funding to the table, but other times it's to bring expertise to the table, probably in the person that we're bringing to the table to talk about a particular topic, or to introduce us to a program that we knew nothing about that we're able to access on behalf of the client for the program to partner up on the project to make it affordable for everybody. We also have very close connections with ACOA, and we try to bring them to the table whenever we can to utilize their community development program that they have, which is working a lot in the social enterprise milieu, sometimes disguised as a different type of project that may not have been identified as a social enterprise project when we started, but sort of evolves into that. So we like to get in early and get the discussion going, and even if it's not something that's appropriate for our program, we can bring other partners to the table. We also look to other federal programs outside of ACOA as well. The federal government, under the current Liberal government, has several big initiatives, which I'll touch on again a little bit later too, that they've been operating with in the social enterprise milieu as well. We collaborate a lot. We see a lot of potential for this, and once when the current provincial Liberal government came into place, the ground was that we had a lot of organizations working in social enterprise in the province, but there was a lot of scattered activities taking place. And what I think the government of the day thought would be very good would be to sort of bring all of that together somehow. So the idea was to develop a social enterprise action plan. And in order to accomplish that, the government, through our department here, had provincial soundings, and maybe some of you were even involved in these. There was a discussion paper that took place. I'm going back about 2 years on this now. And so there was a soundings happened around the province, different sessions, and all of that was fed back into the system. And as a result, there was a social enterprise action plan that was developed. I think the plan is really strong. I think there's a lot of basis there for some really good programming that can be developed as we move forward. I think it's fair to say it's been a little slow getting up and running, but that's not the sector itself. That's within government. I think there's been challenges getting some of the program ideas happening. But one of the really good things that happened was, with the strength of the Social Enterprise Action Program, our Regional Development Fund, which is our main government program for economic development through our department, that has been really open to social enterprise activities. It has been supporting ventures in the past. It's very involved with the Center for Social Enterprise here at the university, and many other projects and many other social enterprise organizations that are advancing their goals. But there's more of a focus now, and there's much more of an opening there for organizations to come into that program. And that program is really for not-for-profit organizations, but we do have access to other for-profit programs too, such as the Business Development Program, Business Development Support Program, and the Investment Program, which we have actually accessed a couple of times as well, depending on the business option that's being put forward to us by the organization that comes in the door.
Randy, can I jump in for a moment there?
Yes.
Are you able to send us the link to that later that I can share with the group on the line?
Yes, I will.
To the action plan?
Yes, absolutely. And right now, we just updated our own website. There's still a few kinks in it because we had just launched it just before the shutdown. But our website has a really good breakdown of all of our programming now, and you can do a search in there. And I should say that you can, as of today, feel free to use me as a point of contact, and I'd be happy to point you to the right person, either in a region or to do with a program that you're particularly interested in, and we can start from that point. But feel free to reach out to me as a starting point, so you don't have to try and go down that path of trying to see who would be the most appropriate person to talk to.
Excellent, thank you.
One of the things that was challenging, and always is challenging when it comes to developing a program, is definitions. And I think we had a bit of a head start on an acceptable definition for social enterprise because of the work that the Community Sector Council had done in the past. And one particular study that they had done, I believe it was called Taking Charge, that really defined up to 2014 what the social enterprise sector looked like in our province and what the economic impact was of all of that. But obviously we need more information on the sector and who's working in the sector. But the definition that we're working with is that, social enterprises earn revenue through the sales of their goods and services. And they're doing that to further a social, a community economic, a cultural, or an environmental purpose. So that's kind of in a nutshell. Community Sector Council is more definitive. They really say that it's a not-for-profit organization that's running a business that has those goals of furthering social, community, economic, cultural, and economic, and or environmental purpose. We're more inclined to say that it's an organization, and as we see over the last year and a half, there are many different business models, from a traditional not-for-profit model to a not-for-profit that has an income-generating arm or an income-generating activity, to an organization that sets itself up from the get-go as a social enterprise. We have socially responsible businesses these days that are, doing things that are, in tune with our environment or in tune with social challenges and those kinds of things. So they're a socially responsible business, but not necessarily a social enterprise. We have corporations that practice good social responsibility, and we're seeing more and more of that these days. And then we have traditional for-profits. We actually are working with a couple of traditional for-profits in this province too that really have identified their for-profit element as social enterprise elements. So we're pretty open on this definition, and we try to work with the goals of the organization. And if we see that it has a really well-defined social goal, then we're going to work with them no matter what their actual business structure is at this point in time. But we do have not-for-profits in the province that have for-profit arms that are set up, and that's the more standard, the more traditional definition of a social enterprise. Oh, I went 2 pages ahead. So TCI's approach to developing their plan was to engage with the community, which they did, and very extensive. A lot of stakeholders were involved. I think there were about 60 people involved in the various sessions. We also formed an interdepartmental committee to engage all of the other departments and try to get a gauge on what they were doing that may or may not be defined as social enterprise, and things that we could actually utilize for our goals over here. So we still actually have that interdepartmental committee in place. Right now, it normally meets just for a particular purpose, to talk about particular application or to talk about a particular idea that might be germinating somewhere, to see what kinds of supports might be out there. We also completed a jurisdictional scan, which was limited, but it did give us a lot of information about the organizations that are out there and what the organizations are accomplishing and what their future plans are. So we gathered quite a bit of information on that. We developed some position papers on different issues that we saw that would arise, such as policy issues, legislation issues that would have to be addressed around donations and those kinds of things. And then we did a gap analysis, which kind of really gave us the basis for that social enterprise action plan. You know, there are gaps identified. Some of the bigger issues are policy and legislative issues. I think there are smatterings of legislations that are throughout government and throughout various policies that relate to social enterprise, but not necessarily were put in place as a social enterprise policy. And those are the kinds of things we want to look at. One of the things that was brought to our attention, just as an example, was legislation around investors and what their benefits would be for investing directly into a social enterprise versus directly into a for-profit corporation. So we know there's some work to do in that area, and we've done some of the groundwork for that, and that's a discussion that's going to be ongoing. So that's kind of in a nutshell how the social enterprise action plan came into place. It's part of the whole, you know, Government of Newfoundland Way Forward program, but certainly my hope and our hope here in the department is that this action plan is something that we keep in place for the next 5 years and that we refer to, because it lays out a really good groundwork for how we can proceed and how we can really kickstart a lot of new initiatives and how we can help current activities that are already taking place. The main goals of this plan were to increase the number of social enterprises in Newfoundland and Labrador and to enhance the services for the existing social enterprises. Those are two big goals. But we also want to, you know, give government and the stakeholders in the sector a way to engage with us as we move forward and try to achieve what we're all trying to achieve together. We want to also foster innovation. We hear that term a lot, but you know, sometimes that can be as simple as us being able to encourage regional cooperation on a project, or sometimes even provincial cooperation on a project. We just got through a process of research proposals, and this became very clear that there's ways that organizations that are currently operating can actually work together that they may not have thought about just yet in social enterprise. And we're certainly not about trying to, you know, complicate matters and bring people together if they don't need to be together. But when we can see that two very strong organizations have the same goal and are looking for data that's going to help them move to the next step, then certainly there's an opportunity there for everybody to work together and to share that data. And in our discussions with organizations, we're certainly getting very positive feedback on that. If people aren't necessarily working together, it's not for lack of interest in doing that. It's just that the challenges, as you all know, of working in the sector, in the not-for-profit sector, and the day-to-day chores of keeping your operation running usually means that you don't have those spare minutes to reach out to other organizations and create another administrative process where you try to work together. So we fully understand how that goes, and we hope that through our responsibilities here and through the representatives that we have, particularly in regional offices, that we can help those things happen through our human resources and also through our programs.
Interesting you'd say that, Randy. I read something earlier this week about businesses surviving post-COVID, or, you know, not post, but living with, I guess, that they're starting to see organizations and businesses collaborating with people that they never ever would have imagined collaborating with. And it's one of the signs of successes, or one of the factors that's contributing to some organizations that are still existing because they've engaged in collaboration where they never ever would have thought of it before.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we you know, pre-COVID, I mean, and even during the whole COVID situation, the lockdown, there's so much emphasis on business, you know, for-profit business and survival, and I get that. But here in our division, we work with the not-for-profit sector, and you know, we heard a lot, and the challenges that that sector is facing right now are just huge, and we are fully aware of it. And we are trying to bring in changes even to our regional development program that can address things like the inability of the sector now to come up with even their 10% contribution to programs because they've lost their fundraising arm or they've lost all of their volunteers and those sorts of issues. So it's a major issue and we're very aware of it. And we're going to continue to work very closely with everybody to try and tweak our own programs or create new programs like the Tourism and Hospitality Support Program, those sorts of initiatives that are hopefully going to make sure that, you know, the majority, if not all, of our not-for-profit pillars are able to survive in this province and move forward, because as can be seen from the last 6 months, you know, in our province, what happened with, you know, our storms and Snowmageddon and then followed by COVID, our social programs are key to our survival in this province, and we recognize that, and we're going to continue to work really hard for what we can do in this province, in our department, but also to engage other departments and show them the kinds of things that they can do with their programs and hopefully get their cooperation. So for a supportive environment like that to work, the Social Enterprise Action Plan identified a bunch of areas that we need to work in. One was business skills and organizational development. There are organizations that are doing this extremely well, and our goal is to help them. We're not about to launch into our own business skills and organizational development programs. We know what other organizations are doing, and our goal is to help them achieve their goals and advance faster with what they want to achieve. Access to financing and capital. Capital is, you know, is a sort of a new discussion on our table here in the province, but there's certainly opportunities for capital investment in the social enterprise sector. You know, if the proper business plan and the great idea can come forward and be sold, then there is opportunity for capital investment in the social enterprise sector. Some through the province, but a lot of major opportunities through the federal government. We also identified that we need to do a lot more research, both to create that base data so we can see where we are now and see where we are going and where we might be in 5 years from now when we do other measurements, but also to identify some of the opportunities that are out there. And we know that many not-for-profit organizations are very aware of opportunities that exist, but it's on the side of their desk, and they've never really had an opportunity to delve into that and see if there is an opportunity there to generate revenues that can help their organization become more stable, but also advance their social enterprise goals. So that one, the research and opportunity identification arm of the Social Enterprise Action Plan, we did manage to launch this year the research call for proposals, and we were very pleased to see the response to that program. We had 39 applications, and as an update, because I know some people on the line here this morning have proposals in there, we were certainly slowed down by the COVID situation and the fact that so many of our staff had to be pulled aside to work on various initiatives to help companies deal with that situation. But we got it back on the rails, and we finished up our assessments of those programs last week. And now we have to go through our little administrative process here. And hopefully by the end of this month, we'll be reaching out to the clients who submitted those proposals and identifying the ones that were successful. And another nice sidebar to that is that many of those proposals, while not perhaps the strongest in our research components, or while perhaps not the strongest in terms of how much information they were able to put forth to frame up their idea. We now know that those are there, and we will assign EDOs to work with those organizations to try and see if we can take that germ of an idea and pull it out and see if there's a program there that can help the organization. We also do, as one of the pillars in the Social Enterprise Action Plan, promotion and awareness. We rely quite a bit on the sector itself for these things too, because that's something that we can't really do on our own. But within communities, certainly social enterprises within communities are promoting their own activities and making people aware of what the possibilities are. And the final pillar of the program was policy development. Again, that's one that I think we have work to do, and particularly on the legislative side, but there have been lots of dialogues happening. It's complicated because there are many departments involved, but I feel like we are making progress. I can see even since I started working on this file that we have advanced clearly on some of those initiatives, even if it's basically, opening minds about policy issues around social enterprise. For example, social buying is a concept that hasn't really fully permeated the government procurement processes, but we've been able to, at least for now, put that. And social buying is when companies that are working in the social enterprise milieu are able to combine forces, just like other organizations do, to purchase products or services and make significant savings through bulk purchasing or bulk dealing with their needs. So that's something that we've been able to, at least on a discussion level, put into the tendering processes of the provincial government. So I would hope that as we move forward, that's going to be, that will eventually become wording that appears in various documents that support the tender and procurement processes of the provincial government. The Social Enterprise Partner Network that we established is still very active. This is a community organization, and we haven't had a meeting for I think about 4 months of the partner network. I'm not exactly sure who all is involved in that right now. And again, it's possible that some of the people on the line here have participated in that social enterprise partner network in the past, or maybe asked to come in as we move forward. But that is still very much a steady, ongoing tool that we want to keep in place so that we're well informed. We also have been taking part in federal, provincial, territorial discussions and trying to navigate the federal system as best we can so that we can gain knowledge that we can pass on to the clients here in Newfoundland. Newfoundland, Labrador. When the current federal government came into place, they put a significant amount of funding aside for social innovation and social finance programs. It was very much, I think, cart before the horse in terms of process and administration. So it's been slow to get up and running, but those funds are still there. And we've been trying to do our best to understand through our federal, provincial, territorial partner network how we can, here in Newfoundland and Labrador, how we can access those programs. And it is really challenging. It's always challenging to access some of these federal programs. And I think we're making progress, and we'll share that information whenever we can, whenever it's relevant to a client that we're working with here. There are two components to the federal program. There's the social investment, and we just had a round of those applications. There was a call for proposals from the federal government. There was a significant uptake here in Newfoundland and Labrador, which was great. And I believe they are assessed now, but I don't believe any companies have actually gotten word on whether or not they received any of that funding yet. I think, to my knowledge, the Community Sector Council here in Newfoundland was involved as a partner with the federal government in the assessing of those documents. So that's close. So I think if you were an applicant to that program, you're probably going to hear something about that fairly soon. The other component of the federal government is the social finance. And that is really an investment program, and it's trying to basically be a capital or venture capital investment arm of social enterprise. And we've seen across the country that there are provinces that are certainly ahead of the game in these in investment and social financing, and there's a lot to learn from them. And it's not just central Canada, although, you know, Quebec and Ontario certainly have major organizations that are sort of acting as umbrella organizations that help all the other smaller organizations learn about and access venture capital funding. But there are other very smaller successes, but very good models that we can look at in Saskatchewan and Manitoba as well. So we're doing our best to stay part of that national network and to try and make sure that we have the best information that can be shared with the partners here in our province. We do invest a lot in skills and development as a whole through our regional development program, and we'll do more of that in the social enterprise milieu as we move forward, and as that activity of social enterprise is fully accepted within our program as something that's going to generate economic development. Because for our department here, we support the social elements of various projects through our programs, but you know, our basic goal is economic development. And it just so happens that economic development here in our province is tied to a lot of social enterprise activities. So there's no problem making that argument that what we're doing is economic development, but that's sometimes more challenging to frame up in a social enterprise discussion. So, you know, we're gaining skills here as staff that we bring to the forefront when we're trying to help our clients really frame up their application to bring it forward so that they get the most they can out of the regional development program that we have here. As I mentioned, the research and opportunity identification, we've done our first project, and I certainly hope this is the pilot program for research, and I hope that we can continue on with that program. And I guess that all depends on larger factors like, you know, what happens with the provincial budget and what comes down when we have a change of government, et cetera. So those are all things we can't control, but within our own department here, we try not to concern ourselves too much to that and deal with the programs that we have in place now and work the best we can with them. I think at this time, I'm going to mention the community capacity building program as well, otherwise known as the CCB. Again, many here have probably utilized that program. It's definitely relevant for the startup of a social enterprise because it can help you. We have a very strong cooperative enterprise module that we can organize and fund on behalf of an organization and engage a strong facilitator who can, if you're looking at setting up as a co-op, then we can certainly help with that module to set that up. But also for many regions, many communities, we also have the opportunity identification module, and many of our social enterprise organizations have been using this module last year, and we expect it to continue this year because they know that they've seen through practice that there is an opportunity for fundraising or revenue generation, but they really haven't had the time to think it through as a structure or a framework, how that might operate as an administrative organization. So the opportunity identification sessions are really good to bring all the people who are involved together and to bring in some experts and see if there is a way that that this idea can actually work as a social enterprise, and is it going to generate some revenues that can then be turned back to the operation to advance their social enterprise or their social goals, or can it even be utilized to start another fundraising or revenue generating activities? I'm just going to skip a little bit. I have a lot here on, you can see my program here, but I have a lot on research, and I'm going to skip through those. In terms of promotion and awareness, I think certainly we try and let through presentations such as this and other things, we try and let our clients know that, or potential clients even, that we are the lead right now on social enterprise funding and ideas through our regional development program. But another thing that we do in terms of promotional and awareness that I feel is really important is the element of letting other departments know how their programs can be utilized. And we see there are a lot of departments within the province that are involved in social activities, and they, it hasn't been the practice that, we look at a lot of social activities as social enterprise activities, but that's happening now. And so we get approached for ideas on how better to aid a client. And we also approach those departments, Department of Advanced Education, Skills and Labor, certainly, children and child support services, senior support services. We work really close with those departments. We have really strong discussions around their programs. And as all of those programs evolve into the future, I certainly hope that some of the work that we're doing and that our clients are doing on the ground are able to influence how some of the social programs are changed and adjusted as we move forward into new programs. Access to financing and capital. So we've talked a little bit about our programs. The Regional Development Fund is our main one, but we do have quite a selection of programs within this department, even on the business side, that can come to fruition for social enterprises. I actually have two companies right now that I'm working with that I would say are social enterprise companies. That is their goal. That's how they've set up. That's how they're operating. But they are able to access some of the business support. And the business support program does have two arms. It does have an equity and loan arm, but it also has a non-repayable grant program. So it's a tough program to get through. There are major requirements around your business plan and projections and those things. But again, I think our organizations are pretty strong. And I think between the organization and the expertise that our EDOs can bring to the table, we're usually able to access those programs. We also have we have a sector development arm, which works a lot on the tourism side, but also has some funding for new program development. And sometimes we're able to see that might be the best one. The funding, can range from, larger grants to institutions such as CNA or Memorial University or the Center for Social Enterprise, down to, smaller investments just in marketing activities. Travel is one that we support a lot, but of course we're a little bit stuck right now because there's very little travel happening. But that just means that there's a little bit more funds there for other initiatives that people might want to undertake in the marketing realm, such as trying to see if there is a market for your product, going to a trade show or something like that, where that social enterprises such as yourselves will be operating, and to learn from them, those kinds of things. So we're able to support those sorts of activities as well through our programs. And then there is the federal programs that we try very hard to help organizations access. So I think for our next steps here, we continue to reference our social enterprise action plan. And as Carol asked, I will send a link to that. I think it's really good to familiarize ourselves with that plan. During the research call for proposals, that became a major piece of the assessments of the projects to see how they actually would help advance the social enterprise action plan from a provincial point of view. So that booklet is not big. It's a good read. It's very interesting, and I think many of the points in there will remain relevant for quite a long time for our community. So we'll continue to tweak it as necessary, but for now, there's a really good groundwork has been laid there, and certainly the groundwork for the formation of new programs that will come into play eventually, we hope, for social, specifically for social enterprise. I think I'm going to stop it there because I've been talking quite a bit, and I know you might have individual questions, or there may be things that I'm not touching on that you had hoped to touch on. So maybe we can open it up for some questions or for some discussion to see if there is other topics that I haven't covered that would be helpful to us this morning.
Excellent. Thank you, Randy. So the floor is open. On your little control on which probably has collapsed on you, so just click on the little arrow at the top. You'll see at the bottom there's a raise hand, so you can click on that, and if you want to ask a question, you can open up your mic and do that, or if you wish, you can throw a question over in chat, and I can moderate that and make sure that we've got questions.
Yeah, and perhaps before we get the first question, let me give you my phone number. My phone number.
Up to you folks. Any questions you have for Randy? And as he said,
can you still hear me there, Carol?
Anything on what he spoke about or something?
Carol, can you hear me there?
Yep. It seems like it's choppy there for a bit, but no, I think you're back. Yep.
Yeah, I was choppy.
Yes, again. Yep.
Okay, good.
Okay, so your number, Randy?
So my phone number is 729-5435.
Mm-hmm.
And my email is Randy Follett, Follett @gov.nl.ca.
Perfect. So I'll make sure that I send that out to the participants as well.
Great.
All right, so throwing it to the floor. Any questions or comments, folks?
This is Daphne. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead, Daphne.
Thank you, Randy. This sounds really interesting. It's the first time I'm hearing about social enterprises. And with me embarking on my new venture of having my own business, I'm anticipating that I'll be meeting with different organizations, large, medium, small. I'm just wondering, I'd like to learn more about your program, and if I have any clients, and see whether or not there's needs for your program, and kind of make the connection there as well. So I definitely would looking forward to the email and to the website, so I can learn more about your programs and see how I can, make the connection and and make things happen on both ends. But thank you for the presentation. Excellent.
You're quite welcome. Yes, and individual consulting businesses, play a huge role here, and we saw this through the call for proposals. In many cases, of course, some of the consultants are experts in particular areas that the organization has worked with in the past, and they continue to want to move forward with those particular consultants. But there's lots of new pieces of work that need to be done too, and it's always great to see new people enter that whole business line. So you're very welcome, Daphne.
Thank you. I'm really excited about it. Are you on LinkedIn?
I am, yes.
Okay, I'll connect with you via LinkedIn.
Great.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions or comments for Randy?
Yeah, and certainly comments too, because I'm very interested in hearing anything, and if there are challenges that we're not aware of yet, either in the moment because of the current situation that we're in, or ongoing issues that you might have that you have to repeat and tell to me for fifth time or whatever, that's no problem. I like to hear, and we need to know that things are still that there are still challenges there that we can try and address directly. So do feel free, and if it is something that you are not comfortable talking about on this call, certainly connect with me and we can have a one-on-one conversation.
Excellent. Thank you, Randy. I think I know from the some of the programs, there's some emphasis on certain industries. I think, you know, you've touched about tourism being one of the emerging industries. I know agriculture is an emerging industry that government is focusing a lot of efforts on as well. So sometimes it's industry specific. I also know that most of the not-for-profits that I've connected with has actually been through the community capacity building funding, that they've been able to secure funding to hire me to help them with a piece of work. And I also know of 2 organizations in Corner Brook last year that combined together to apply for funding. I'm not sure which source, for me to do a needs assessment on affordable housing for them. And so they came together. So that collaboration piece that you're talking about.
Oh, I seem to have lost you.
You know, is really important when they can see that they have the same goals. They can come together and access funding easier probably than single organizations going after it. So I think that's kind of what happened last year with them.
Yeah, definitely. And it also allows you to.
I think their long-term goal is to try and do a social enterprise.
Right. I think it also, when you partner, it allows you to take pieces in bites, because for the organizations, it's usually pretty challenging to jump in and pull off the project in one swift move.
Mm-hmm. And I think part of the challenge for a number of organizations is that they rely a lot on volunteers. So as you talked about, you know, they're barely holding it together to do the operational stuff, let alone some of this outside, you know, investigating and researching and so on.
Yeah. The social enterprise proposals that we received, I wish I could talk a little bit more about them, but it's not appropriate at this time. But just to say that it was absolutely, we were floored. I mean, there are some amazing organizations and amazing activities taking place, and the challenge for us is to be able to find ways to support all of that activity, because there's no way to measure merit, you know, to play one organization off against another to make some judgments on what's important in the day and what's not. So that's a big challenge for the department for moving forward in the social enterprise milieu, because there's a lot of work that's already being done by organizations that are out there, and our goal is to help them, not for us to, you know, go out with new ideas and suggest new ways of doing things. So that's how we'll continue to operate, and that's, you know, outlined for us in our social enterprise action plan. So
excellent, thank you. Lucas, you have a question or comment?
I have a question, something that you had mentioned that I was just kind of curious about. If there's specific funding or programs for social enterprises related to agriculture, like I think, you know, if you look to the Western provinces, co-ops and agriculture, you see more of that. And I was wondering if there was anything sort of specific towards that here.
There are FLR, Forest and Land Resources, I believe the department is called, the provincial department here. They have quite significant programs for startup, for supplying product and materials, for growth in the food industry. We don't have a specific program for agriculture, but agriculture is certainly one of the main industries that we support through our regional development program. Agriculture also gets significant support through the business program, not as that would be for for-profit businesses. So we do that as well. But as we saw from our research call, again, like food security is finally, you know, a huge topic in this province that we're talking about, and it's social enterprises and small businesses that are leading the way. for what the future of our food security is going to look like in this province. So I think you'll see, Lucas, more programming that's targeted, that's more around the social enterprise activities of food security versus right now there's more emphasis on the for-profit business side of food security. But I think as we move forward, we'll see more of an emphasis on social enterprise.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, something else I didn't mention, there are other organizations as well, of course, like the CBDCs and the Newfoundland Labrador Federation of Cooperatives that sometimes can assist with funding, but also have very strong resource people that we like to work with and that our clients find extremely helpful too. And the key is that it is, if you're outside of the Avalon Peninsula, there are people that you can meet in person and that really makes a big difference to your discussion, certainly. And there's also the Newfoundland and Labrador Credit Union, which is able to support small businesses and a lot of social enterprise for-profit arms are small businesses with goals to become larger businesses. And the credit union can take a look at some of those too. And sometimes they have been successful. I think the credit union on the West Coast was involved with the daycare center that started in Port aux Basques, which has been very, very successful. So sometimes, the first piece of funding that comes into place is not necessarily through the department or through the government in general. Sometimes it's from some of these other agencies that are all working jointly.
Excellent, and that might be a good opportunity to bring in Toby. Toby, did you want to jump in with some of the things that you offer from your organization?
Well, we have funding available for nonprofit organizations. We have repayable loans, and of course, everything is geared towards the client and what their needs may be. So we have the privilege of staggering their payments, looking at their seasonality and things like that. We also have a CAS program, which has just been renewed, right, and that is provided to us through COA funding to help businesses look at their financial situations and get some professional assistance in determining needs, strategic plans, budgeting, if they're looking at extension of products, things like that. So there's a limited budget available for that, for us to help support some programs. There's also a business valuation program that is available. So if you're looking at potentially, selling the business, moving it to private enterprise, looking at taking on something, there may be potential to get some funding to help get assistance with determining the value of that business and the pricing associated with it. Also for transferring of shares and things like that. We have an entrepreneur training fund, which sometimes with our clients, if they need some particular training to help them, usually in a professional capacity. So two of the things that typically come to mind are bookkeeping and marketing. If an organization that's dealing with us need funding to, strengthen those areas, there may be some non-repayable grant monies available for training in that area. Also, one of the things we've done is started looking at, group sessions where we are offering training at no cost or very little cost to participants. So that's a new approach that we're taking here in this office to try to, get some low-cost training for other organizations as well. So that's some of the things that we offer here. And of course, we, have business development. We help with that. And if we don't have the access, we recommend other organizations and provide contact information for that as well.
Yeah, thanks, Toby. Thanks for mentioning the CAS program too. We do recommend clients quite often if you're really at the kind of idea level and really need a lot of help to sort of suss it out and see what the business model might be or what the business plan might be. We often recommend that they look at the potential of doing something with the CAS program, and it's been very successful.
Excellent, thank you. So I'm going to just stop our recording here on this piece, but I'm going to ask you to hang on the line and we'll do a little bit of round robin of what's going on in your individual organizations.